welcome to a new edition of Shogunnet International Interviews. My name is Julieta, and I am here today with Canadian Gaming Association's President and CEO, Paul Burns. Thank you very much for being here today with us.
Thank you for having me.
The Canadian Gaming Summit took place earlier this month, and it was the last one that the Canadian Gaming Association will organize. What did this latest edition imply for the association, and what will be its new role from now on under the new management?
Well, we were excited to bring people back together for the first time in 2 years. Obviously, been since 2019 since we've had a Canadian Gaming Summit, and we were thrilled. We welcomed just over 1,100 delegates to Toronto to our gathering. It was an exciting time. Obviously, a lot's happened since we were last together in 2019, with the laws changing to permit single event sports wagering, and the province of Ontario launching its regulated market for iGaming and sports, has generated a lot of interest as an open license model around which Ontario is, for allowing anybody that wishes to stand in the market is free to apply, which is the only one in North America. So it does create, it's created a lot of interest. With about 30 plus operators entered the market already, and probably we're hearing close to 30 more looking at entering in the application process. So with that generated a lot of interest and excitement around Ontario and bringing people to Canada from all over the globe. Actually, it was great to meet some of our new members who I hadn't seen in person, and been doing conversations like this for the last couple of years. So it was really exciting to bring people together. And for us, it was our 25th year. For the association, it was time to make a change. And so this was the last year that we undertook the programming and operations, and it'll be moving over to SBC, who will be our new partner going forward. And we will have obviously an ongoing role with them, but being a global conference provider and having multiple media platforms, we felt it was right for the industry in Canada and for us as an association to turn the reins over. And so they're thrilled. They're looking forward to running an industry event based on and focused on Canada. Obviously, it's an exciting market with lots happening. So we're thrilled to be working with them. It gives us a chance to tell our stories to a broader global audience, which we're thrilled about, because there's lots of great things going on in Canada, a lot of great companies here that are actually doing business all over the world. So we're happy to help tell their stories. And SBC should allow us to do that. And so that's why we chose to make the change now. And I think it'll be good for the industry in Canada and good for our event. I think it's going to be a great event next year. We're back in Toronto again, in the same time, in the same week in the middle of June. And there'll be lots more to discuss then too, I suspect. So it's been great, and we had a terrific event and lots of positive feedback. Our session rooms were full, and just as everybody's absorbing the new markets that are opening in Ontario and the new sports betting regime across the country. So it was a fantastic event. I wore out my voice. It's still coming back, but we'll get there. It's been great. So a nice change to bring everybody together, and people were excited to do it. A lot hadn't been to a conference yet before, so it was good.
And with the launch of the Ontario iGaming and sports betting market hitting its third month in activity, what are your takes on its performance so far? How has the audience responded to the current offer, which is expanding, as you were saying?
It is expanding, and listen, because Canada had such a large gray market for years, many operators from offshore were operating in the Canadian marketplace and had customers here, and so when they had the opportunity to sign up for the regulated market, were eager to do so. And so there was, for them, it was launching new apps, new features for their customers. For many companies, it was a chance for them to bring in their new products, and hadn't been in the gray market, hadn't been in the Canadian market before. Companies like FanDuel and PointsBet from the United States, competing with those like Unibet and Bet365, who've had good customer bases here. So it was a real good mix, and it's been very positive to date. We don't have any market data yet. It looks like the Ontario government, iGaming Ontario, will be releasing data quarterly. So we expect to hear data probably in early to mid-July about what the first 3 months of the market has been like. So right now we're hearing a lot of anecdotal work. We're hearing, in terms of looking at downloads from the app stores and those numbers, and operators have been very full of praise and very confident statements about what they've been seeing to date. And there's an estimate that the Ontario market was in the $1 billion GGR range, could be more. I suspect that that will be, we'll see when the first results come out what that's going to look like. But I think that there's a strong interest from Canadians. I think the consumer choice has been fantastic for people. And so, early days have been very positive, and everything's been working exceptionally well, with very few bumps and very minor issues for certain operators. But by and large, it's been well received, and the regime is the regulatory regime has been well received by operators. And I think a testament to the fact that so many are signing up is another positive attribute.
Well, at the very beginning, when the market was just launching, there was a report that stated that the score bet was at the top of the downloading ranks in the jurisdiction. And it was also later announced that it was shutting down its operations in the US to fully focus on Canada. Do you think that this could be a general trend among operators, that they kind of shift their businesses targets from the US to Canada?
I suspect not. It is partly because of the score bet's owners, it being Penn National and having the Barstool brand in the United States, which is exceptionally popular. And I think they saw the need they made the shift, and putting their emphasis on the Score brand, which has been huge in Canada, and it's a long-standing brand. The Score were the first people to bring us basically a dedicated sports news and information channel in Canada as a TV channel. Then they graduated to a sports app for sports betting, sports information, not betting information, but sports information, sports news. And there's probably a couple million Canadians that have that on their app on their phone. And so for them, they had a great head start with people who know the brand, have an app on their phone, and it was up to them to activate those into deposit paying customers. And so they've had great success because of that brand history in Canada. I think for others, I think we'll see the strength of market as they come in terms of what they're shifting their emphasis. But there's a lot of also homegrown brands that are coming, and Canadian sites that will be launching. North Star Bets being the first one, which as a Canadian ownership group and based off the Toronto Star, which is Canada's largest daily newspaper, they've launched into the market too. So I think we won't see, I don't think, people shifting out of the United States so much. The Score was unique, but we are going to see some strength of Canadian brands coming into entering the market in the coming months. I think that's going to be exciting for customers, and it's all of this has been choice is good. And I think that's what we've always, as an association, we wanted to make sure that the regulatory environment was conducive for companies to come and do business, and it has been, and it is. And so this is, as for customers, lots of choice, and I think that's the exciting part of all this. So we'll see what else comes, but right now it's there's a lot of positive feeling amongst in the market, amongst players and the operators.
Well, back in January, as we are talking about numbers, a confidential report prepared for the Great Canadian Gaming warned Ontario's government could lose up to $2 billion over the course of the next 5 years, with annual revenue hit by the shift to online. Do you think after 3 months in activity that this could actually happen, that this could materialize?
Well, we don't know at this point. Let's to be honest. There's lots of debate about um, cannibalization from land-based to online. Part of it is that no one really understood. Canada's had wide open access to online gaming. This isn't really new. So no one really determined what the impact of the current situation was on online on land-based casinos, because I could click on virtually most any site, use my bank cards, my credit cards. There was very little restrictions for Canadians. So Canadians have been doing this. So the reality is that one of the things that we wanted to see happen for the land-based casino operators is to make sure they went in on a level playing field. And that didn't really happen the way it should have. And so they still don't have retail sports books open for casinos, which is unfortunate because the law has been changed for almost a year now. That's being worked out with Ontario Lottery and Gaming, who's their overseer. But the government gave them additional red tape, a separate contract and reporting regime. So some of those things have gotten in the way and have hindered their progress. We're going to see the first casino operator launch their site this week, and so that with Fallsview Casino in Niagara Falls, and that's great. And we want to see them get up and operate and be able to take advantage and create that omni-channel experience for their customer. So, do we know if there's going to be cannibalization? No, we don't yet. Partly because there's been lots of debate on both sides of this. But we do know that the casino operators need to operate on a level playing field with the online space. And there's still some work to do that the Ontario government knows they need to do. And we'll hopefully get that done soon to make sure that there is that seamless transition for customers in the casino environment to online for those sites. And it's just a bit more work to do. But I think we'll see what brings in the coming years. But I think right now, as the casino operators come back from being shut for COVID, because we had very severe restrictions here and the casinos were closed for better parts, mostly 16, 17 months, either fully or partially, the impact is the business is starting to return. And so we want to make sure that that's going to happen and see that's sustainable. They have a lot of capital projects on the road to improve their products in Ontario. Those hopefully will restart soon. Some are continuing, but others are paused, just so they can see the business is coming back or not. And so tenuous time, but I think there's important that the government's aware of what they need to do, and we still got a bit more work to do to make sure the casino operators can benefit from this.
Coming back to we were talking about the opening of the market and the early beginnings. Sports leagues have actually taken a major role in the launch of the Ontario market, as some of them have partnered with the entering companies and operators. What do you think of this move? Are operators actually capitalizing from these new partnerships?
I think that the professional sports leagues in Canada were definitely looking for the opportunity to partner. They recognize that sports betting is part of that and fan engagement. It's a way for fans to obviously enjoy the game a bit more and having a wager on it. They like to do it. Pardon me. And so for customers, it was, the sports league saw the need to create these partnerships, not only for creating more their fan engagement activity in stadium, TV viewership is obviously key for a lot of them. The Canadian Football League in particular has had a very rough couple years. They didn't play much. They missed all of one season and part of last season, and looking for new opportunities to partner revenue and engage the fans again and bring them back. We have emerging Canadian Premier League Soccer and Football League. We have an emerging Canadian Elite Basketball League as a Canadian only professional basketball league, and basketball is hugely popular in Canada. So these new early stage leagues are looking for opportunities to increase fan engagement. So those partnerships have been important. And we've seen sportsbooks go off sort of the beaten path a little bit, as we saw. PointsBet has created a partnership with Curling Canada over on for curling events in Canada, and obviously we have a strong following for golf, and through partnerships with Golf Canada and the PGA Tour, we've seen sportsbook operators create those partnerships as well. And I think it's just there's a lot of great sports fans in Canada, and that engagement is something that everybody's looking to see if they can, with those partnerships, earn a few dollars for those teams and leagues. We don't have the rich TV deals like the big four leagues in North America, so there's not, some of those smaller leagues really look at these partnerships as a critical revenue source and a strong fan engagement tool. So it's been exciting to see, and I think there'll be lots more coming in the next little while especially as we head into the fall sports season.
Some companies have already faced fines and punishments due to alleged ads inducements and infractions. How do you assess compliance enforcement efforts so far in Ontario?
It's actually, the compliance efforts have been great. I think in this, from the operator side, there's definitely a desire to make sure that everybody's understanding the rules, particularly that you're not permitted to offer incentives, inducements, or bonusing on mainstream advertising or social media. So that's been some of the issue of what's the right language we can use. So there's been a real desire for operators to understand how that's going to be interpreted by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, and then enforcing market to make sure that only the licensed operators are working with affiliates, those kinds of things, because the operators have a lot of the compliance responsibilities on them to make sure they're doing business with suppliers that are only supplying or not supplying the illegal markets in Ontario, illegal operators, and that there's the affiliates they work with are only offering the correct advertisements in terms of inducements and bonuses, but also making sure that there's unlicensed sites aren't commingling on those affiliate sites. So that's been a lot of where the interpretation of the rules and how they're being enforced. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has outlined they are going to be actively enforcing market and going after illegal operators. We're in a period right now as they're allowing operators to transition from the gray market. Operators didn't have to leave the market. There was no blackout date. There was no drop dead date. They were allowed to, as they get licensed, to transfer into market. So we're in a period where it's a bit of a gray zone, shall we say, still. That will change in the next couple of months, because anybody who applied before April 4th was allowed to transition to market. The last of those applications are being processed now. So we fully expect over the summer that there will be a definite black and white market. It will be legal or illegal operators, and the AGCO is preparing, because they've been very strong at saying that they will protect the market. They've asked operators to come in and be licensed and pay the fees and abide by the rules, and so they're going to respect that by working hard to enforce it. And so they've been active with suppliers in making sure that they're only working with licensed operators in Ontario, and the operators themselves ensuring that they understand the rules. I mean, it's a new market. There have been a few fines levied, but I think it was an early sign to where people had stepped outside the lines, and it was a little bit of a learning experience for everybody in terms of what the interpretations are of the rules. And so there's still lots to learn, but I think as everybody's going through it, there's a good dialogue, and there's a definite desire for strong enforcement from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission.
At the beginning of the year, the technology trends and projections for 2022 were aimed really high in terms of technology, with experts saying that 3.0 technologies would be at its peak. And being halfway through the calendar, how would you assess technological developments in the gaming industry in Canada so far? Do you think that maybe Ontario is edible land in terms of this kind of iGaming innovation?
One particular area where I've been really pleasantly surprised and pleased to see, Ontario in their regulatory regimes have very high KYC um, requirements at account establishment and sign up. So before deposits could be made. There was a lot of concern amongst operators that, wow, these are really high. I don't know how the friction we're going to create with customers may be too great. In reality, what we saw, and I've seen and experienced myself, is the fact that I think technology has helped get over some of that the perceived friction they saw coming, that it would be a difficult sign-up process for customers, and that really hasn't been the case. That hasn't been the feedback. Customers are getting through the KYC process to get their account established. Some of the new technology has been offering out there has been tremendous in terms of getting through that friction, making sure that they can meet the regulatory requirements for operators, but also giving it a pleasant experience for customers and not too onerous and doesn't take too long. And I think they've achieved a great balance right now in the marketplace. And I think that I think we'll see more on that front. I mean, obviously Canada's got some fabulous companies that are working in that KYC space, in the payment space, where we've seen tremendous and new options for customers in terms of payments, ease of withdrawals. So, in particular in Canada, we've got, in GeoComply, which is one of the world leaders in geolocation services. So we've seen a lot of that innovation happen here in Canada, and it's being applied to the Ontario market and very successfully.
Now that the Ontario market is up and running, do you think that we will be seeing a contagion effect in other jurisdictions in the country soon, taking into account the performance, right? The performance that it's had in the last 3 months. What would be the requirements for that to actually happen?
Well, for other provinces, because as many will know, that the gaming in Canada is much like the United States. It's province by province. Just like it is state by state in the US. And what we're seeing is a lot of the provinces watching what Ontario is doing. They want to see the effect of finally tackling the gray market in Canada, which has been a huge problem and issue for the gaming operators here in Canada who have been operating on a level playing field. So we're going to see what they're going to watch. And I think some of the first results we'll see at the end of the first quarter of business for Ontario's market will be telling. I think that it's driving a conversation in other markets about how do we fix the gray market? What are our solutions? Because I think that's something that they'll take a hard look at saying, has everybody been successful in the Ontario market? Is there ways we can do this? What can we learn from it? Because in jurisdictions that I've talked to, I've often said to them, you're going to find what's best for your market, but you're best to engage with the industry, have a discussion, talk to all your stakeholders in the gaming industry, and you'll be able to best determine what works for your market. And that's what Ontario did. It was a great process. There was lots of engagement back and forth between government, regulators, operators, and I think that's the key to success. And so what we've saying to governments is, look at what's happened, engage the industry and have a discussion and see if you'll find a solution that works best for your jurisdiction. Because there isn't necessarily, you got to do it exactly the same way, and what's right for one is not often right for the other. We recognize that, and we just encourage them though to make sure you examine what's happening, because what we want to see is regulated iGaming everywhere in Canada. That's, as an association, that's what we believe in. That's what we've been asking for a long time. How they choose to do it, well, that's up to the provinces, and we'll work with them to make sure that they get the best model that suits the needs of their jurisdiction.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.